Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Batman Private Casebook. Take a look at that. Now, Batman Private Casebook is done by Paul Dini, who you may or may not know is actually tied with Jeff Loeb as my favorite writer. Paul is just so smart in how he works with characters, socially interacting with other characters, personally bringing them to different places that may or may not have been taken to before, and he just knows so much about the Batman mythos. So he brings so much to the table. He's also multi-talented in that he's written for a lot of the DC animated TV shows, so you see a lot of that reflect in his writing for comic books. Now, Private Casebook is done under the same format that Dini's other works, Detective and Death in the City, are done under, in that there's no big story arc, but rather smaller individual one-shot stories that are set in the continuity, which have, a few things connecting each other, but really they're just one-shot stories. Now, I'm not going to get into too much of the stories themselves, because I don't want to spoil too much, seeing that they're so short. So I'll just give you a small, basic, overall premise of them. There's a story dealing with Ra's al Ghul, and it really wraps up the resurrection of Ra's al Ghul angle. So there's a big confrontation between Batman and Ra's al Ghul. There is a story dealing with that suit of sorrow that he got from Talia, and how that has some interesting properties. There's also a story, some stories dealing with the Riddler, the Mad Hatter, the second ventriloquist in Hero Origins. Catwoman shows up briefly, and Zatanna shows up also. And it's really interesting to see how Paul Dini writes Zatanna and Batman, and how they interact with each other. He does it just so well. It's kind of funny because he's actually married to an illusionist, so it's like he's married to a little Zatanna himself. So that's about the basic overall premise. Like I said, I don't want to ruin too much for you guys. So let's go on to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Start with the good. One is the writing is done fantastically. I am very, very critical of people that I enjoy reading their writing. I expect so much of them, and I expected so much from Paul Dini, and I'm glad to say that he did not disappoint. The writing is just top-notch. The interaction between the characters, awesome. It's really well done, the writing. So the writing and dialogue is good. The art is fun, and the reason why I say the art is fun because at first I didn't like it, but after a while I started getting used to it, and I started to like it, and it really was good because it set the right tone, the right feeling for the graphic novel. Some of you may or may not like it. It's really up to you, it's your discretion, but I personally did like the art. On to the downsides. The downsides kind of go hand in hand. First of all, there's only a certain amount of stories in here. I kind of wish there were more. Now, I can understand because he was actually transitioning into Heart of Hush, and he had to go into Heart of Hush, so you can't really, throw in too many stories. But it would have been nicer to have more stories for what it's worth. It's $19 for a hardcover, and it seems to be the trend of DC to do hardcovers now. So if this was in paperback, it'd probably be $12, and it would have been a lot nicer if it was that affordable. And I'm not sure if the individual issues and the individual stories would really be worth the while for just regular comic book enthusiasts for that price. So if that's the case, I suggest that you go online and you buy the graphic novel on the computer, Amazon or eBay. It'll probably be cheaper there for like maybe $13 or $12. But those are really only bads, and it has to do with the price. Whether or not you should get it, I highly recommend picking up this book. Just to go off for a bit, if you've been reading Batman the past 2 or 3 years, at least since the Infinite Crisis ended, you notice that Batman has been written by primarily Grant Morrison and Paul Dini. More so Grant, but it's really been between those two. There's been other writers, yes, I know, but it's been primarily those two. And I find that they complement each other very well, in that Grant Morrison does these long, intricate, big story arches, and he really focuses on Batman personally, psychologically, the character psychologically, where Paul Dini deals with smaller individual issues, and he deals with Batman personally and how he interacts with other characters. So, you can pick up one of them and then transition over to the other one and get a totally different new experience, which I think is very nice. So kudos to both those writers. I don't know if DC planned it to be like that, but it worked out very well. But I highly recommend picking up Private Casebook, especially the big Batman fans. It is a bit of money for what it's worth, but you won't be disappointed. It really is good, and it transitions into Heart of Hush, and it's kind of like a sequel to Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul. So definitely pick this up. Okay. With that said, this is Andrew. I'm going to say peace out for now.